Alright folks, what is going on? Back with another video. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Today it's Wednesday. It is the middle of the week. The weekend is almost here. We just got to keep pushing and keep doing what we have to do to get through the day. If you're out here hustling and working, kudos to you. If you're not, hopefully you're doing everything you can to maintain and be in good health and be in good spirits. As far as gaming go, let's talk about a game that I thought would be okay, but it's not. MindsEye. MindsEye comes out broken, has all these issues, people are complaining, the player count's not that good on Steam, and the reception and the reviews on Steam is not that good as well. So now we're looking at a situation where after having all these games that actually came out that were pretty much in solid shape, we didn't have this issue for a while now. You had Leslie Benzies, or I guess that's the name, Leslie Benzies, have his game come out, and it suffers this fate. I pretty much looked at this game from a distance, because this was a game I wanted to try, but I wasn't going to buy day one, obviously. I got my reserves on that, which I'll talk about in a second. I just thought this game was going to be a game that was going to be pretty solid. It's going to be pretty good. Not to the high quality of most games, but it was going to be good enough to buy. So I was going to wait and let other people play to see how it goes, and I'm glad I did. A lot of people now who bought the game, they're like not really satisfied. They're pretty upset with the bugs. They're complaining about it, and some people are just like, yeah, what the hell is going on here? Look, I'll put it like this here. Me personally, I always wait to the last minute to actually buy a day one game, or I'll wait, a month, 6 months to a year to actually buy a game. Because you just don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what games is going to be out there. You don't know what game is going to be on point, what game is going to be buggy. And looked like this was the one that was buggy. So therefore, I'm kind of glad I waited. But at the same time, it's really unfortunate, because you would think of all developers or directors, this particular one would not have this issue. And like I said, that's what makes it disappointing. They have a really good pedigree of making solid games from the Grand Theft Auto series, and now he goes and makes his own game, and this happens. I just look at it like this at the end of the day. Let me roll this window up. I'll say this at the end of the day. Hey man, be careful when you go out and buy these games. That's basically what it is. Be careful when you go out and buy these games, because these games are, subjected to be in poor quality. A lot of these games are like that nowadays, and it is what it is. I don't really look into getting newer games like that. I just really wait and see, because of this type of issue. This stuff like this happens. I do make an exception for let's say the Marvel vs. Capcom collection, and all those other games like that, Capcom Fighting Collection, because those are old games. They should work, right? Sometimes yeah, you know what I mean, they should work. But like games like AAA titles, even some AA titles, I pretty much wait. And this is one thing why I think Game Pass works pretty well, because with Game Pass, yeah, you're gonna be paying like a $20, $17 a month, deal where a subscription. But at the same time, you're not going to be out of a lot of money. Even if that one game doesn't work on Game Pass, you still got a couple of thousand more games to play. And those games are, pretty much solid. A lot of people give Game Pass a lot of grief, and I get it, because, I like to own my games as well, and I don't want to be playing these games, but the deal is actually pretty good. So I don't know if mine's out on Game Pass. I don't think it is, but still, regardless, the game should not be put out in the state that it's in. A lot of people are comparing this to the Cyberpunk situation, which this is another reason why I say wait 6 months to a year, even a month if you really want the game, because with Cyberpunk 2077 right now, it's a very good game. It's solid, it works, and it's pretty much fixed. Just like the No Man's Sky situation, solid, now it's fixed. Can't say too much about the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. I don't know about that. That one still may have issues. But you have to just wait to this point. Maybe in a year, a year and a half, MindsEye will be a complete game where everything works. But I think another thing about the game is kind of disappointing too. A lot of people say it looks open world, but it's linear. And a lot of people are like, yeah, man, I wanted to play somewhat of an open world game. And it kind of seemed like that's what it was going to be. It was going to be an open world game, but it's fairly linear. A lot of people are saying that as well. Now, this is the thing. It doesn't matter, really, honestly, if it's linear, open world, or whatever the case may be. If the game is functional and it plays well, it's going to be fine. And I think that's the thing about it. A lot of people just want a game that works. If you buy a game, you want the game that you buy works. And unfortunately, we're dealing with a situation here where this is not 100%. And I also want to say this, as far as percentages. I've seen some people say that this game is working fine for them. They have a few issues here and there, and this, that, and the third. Look, I look at it like this. If 10%, in some cases maybe even lower, if 10% of gamers that bought the game said that it's a problem, or have the game say it's a problem, if 10% of the sales of that game they're saying it's a problem, and they need to fix it. And that's generous. Sometimes it can be even lower than that, because if you sold a game that was, millions of copies, let's say 3 million copies or 1 million copies of that game, and 3% have an issue with the game, that's a lot of people. You know what I mean? So you don't want to have a percentage of people that have issues with the game. So so some people may say, hey, I'm fine with this. Okay, yeah, right. Your copy don't have bugs or issues. Your particular copy is great. That's fine. But then again, you got another 30,000 or 40,000 or 50,000 people have an issue, and that needs to be fixed. And so that's another thing when it comes to whatever game it is, not just MindsEye or Cyberpunk or Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. It doesn't matter. Any of these games that have an issue to that high capacity, you have an issue and you need to fix it. So that's the way I'm coming from with it. Yeah, I thought this was going to be a pretty good streak of games. Well, it was a pretty good streak of games that was not completely broken, but then and you have MindsEye. But you also got to think now, it was at one point, there were a lot of games coming out broken at one point. There were back-to-back issues with games. But, you kind of chalk that up on what happened in 2020 with the lockdowns and everything. That is a contributing factor, no doubt. But it was bad at one point. And we kind of got ourselves out of it. And then here comes this game with that issue. So I'm kind of curious to see how this play out. I think once the bugs and all the stuff get fixed and the game goes down about $20 or $15, I'll find it. I'll probably go ahead and give it a run. But let me know what y'all think. Did you buy the game or whatever the case may be? Do you have issues with it? Is your copy perfectly fine? Let me know what you think. I'm going to get up out of here. Thanks to everybody who's been watching the channel, liking the videos, sharing the videos, subscribing to the channel. You guys are absolutely awesome. I'll be back with more content a little later on, and I'll see you guys then. All right, y'all, I'm out. Peace.